We're live.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sankat Lochan Hanuman Temple. We're here tonight. We're going to be doing a little Kirtan before our Arati celebration. And it's just a joy to come together and offer this Kirtan. As you know, Mount Madonna Center has been closed, and the temple closed to visitors because of the pandemic, and because we feel it's the appropriate thing to do to ensure the safety and well-being of our community and all people who are devoted to this practice. It's difficult for us not to have you here in person, but it's really lovely to be able to come together tonight in this way. So we're finding meaning in our retreat, in coming together virtually, and we hope you find meaning tonight as well in this practice. We'll do about a half hour of Kirtan, and then Arati will start. So we hope you'll sit back, enjoy the Kirtan. Of course, Kirtan is call and response, and so we've picked Kirtan tonight that will be simple to respond to. We'll tell you the words of them, and it's an opportunity for us to deepen our practice together of devotion. So thank you for coming.
Haley, do you want to say the words of the song?
Om Ganesha, Om Ganapati, Om Ganapati, Om Ganapati, Om. Om Ganesha, Om Ganapati, Om
Ganesha Om Ganapati Om. Om Ganesha Om Ganapati Om. Om Ganesha Om Ganapati Om. Om Ganesha Om Ganapati Om. Ganapati Om, 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 Ganapati Om. Om Ganesha Om 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 Ganapati Om. Ganapati Om, 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 Ganapati Om. Om Ganesha Om 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 Ganapati Om. Ganapati Om, 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 Ganapati Om. Om Ganesha Om Ganapati Om. Om Ganesha Om Ganapati
Jai Ganesh.
singing to the goddesses next in all their many forms. Jai Jagadambe, Sita Radhe, Gauri Durge, Namo Namaha. Jai Jagadambe Sita Radhe Gauri Durge Namo Namah. 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 Jai Jagadambe 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 Sita Radhe Gauri Durge Namo Namah. 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 Jai Jagadambe 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 Sita Radhe Gauri Durge Namo Namah. 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 Jai Jagadambe Sita Radhe Jagatambe, Jai Jagatambe, Jai Jagatambe, Jai Jagatambe, Jai Jagatambe, Jai Jagatambe. This is how I fight my battles. 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 It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. Jai Jagadambe Sita Radhe Gauri Durge Namo Namah. Jai Jagadambe Sita Radhe Gauri Durge Namo Namah. Jai Ma. Keeping with the Ma theme, Bhaja Ma, worship Ma in all her forms. Durga Ma, Lakshmi Ma, Kali Ma. Bhajama, ma, 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 Saraswati Ma, 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 Ma. Saraswati Ma, 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 Ma. Lakshmi Ma, 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 Ma,
This is a time when we're all in need of healing. In the world, in our community. So we offer this in that spirit. Love is but a song we sing, fear's the way we die. You can make the mountains ring, or make the angels cry. Though the bird is on the wing, and you may not know why. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Some may come and some may go, we will surely pass. When the one who left us here returns for us at last, we are but a moment's sunlight fading in the grass. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. If you hear the song I sing, you will understand. You hold the key to love and fear, all in your trembling hand. Just one key unlocks them both, it's there at your command. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Try to love one another right now. Try to love one another right now. Right now, right now.
Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shri Hanumate Namaha. Om Sitaramaya Namaha. Om Sumukaschaikadantascha Kapiloka Jakarnakaha Lambodaracha Vikato Vignanasho Vinayaka Dhumraketur Ganadyaksho Balachandro Gajamana Vadashaitani Namani Yamapate Shrunuyadati Vidyaram Devi Vake Chatraveshe Nirgame Tattha Sangrame Sankate Chaiva Vignastasya Najayate Vignamani Kutaraya Shri Ganadipataye Namaha Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Avinam Shuklam Vararam Vishnu Shashi Varanam Chaturdam Rasana Varanam Jaya Sarvavigno Prashantaye Namaste Sham Jayaste Sham Kutaste Shankara Jaya Yeshami Vivarashamo Hridayasto Janardanaha Om Dandam Samarpayami Shri Hanuman Namyakindo, Namyakindo, Sanilam Sanilam, Yakashokamahinam Manakasataya, Adaya Vinay Padanapanasam, Yamamitwam Sarangayiram Saneyam, Om Sri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Tatpurushaya Vidmate, Vakrasundaya Dhimate, Tanudante Prachodayat. Om Tatpurushaya Vidmate, Vakrasundaya Dhimate, Tanudante Prachodayat. Om Sri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Sri Gurave Namaha. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai 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 Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shri Sitaramaya Namaha. Om
While he's waving the lamp, we'll be singing the Hanuman Arati song.
आरती की जय हनुमान लला की, दुष्ट दलन रघुनाथ काला की। आरती की जय हनुमान लला की, दुष्ट दलन रघुनाथ काला की। आरती की जय हनुमान लला की। जाके बल से गिरिवर कांपे, जाके बल से गिरिवर कांपे। रोग दोष जाके निकट न जाके, रोग दोष जाके निकट न जाके। अंजनी पुत्र महाबलदाई, संतन के प्रभु सदा सहाय। आरती की जय हनुमान लला की, दुष्ट दलन रघुनाथ काला की। आरती की जय हनुमान लला की। हीरा रघुनाथ पटाए, हीरा रघुनाथ पटाए। लंका जारि सिया सुखी लाए, लंका जारि सिया सुखी लाए। लंका सकोट समुद्र सिखाए, जगत Jai Vaikuntha Amara Pada Pade Arati ki Jai Hanuman Lalla ki Krishna Raghunath Padaaki Arati ki Jai Hanuman Lalla ki Krishna Raghunath Padaaki Arati ki Jai Hanuman Lalla
Jai! Jai Jai Sitaram!
Jai Hanuman.
Urvarukami Bhavanganam Mrityormukti Amamrita Om Triyambakam Yajamade Sugandhim Pushtivartanam Urvarukami Bhavanganam Mrityormukti Jai 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 Shri Om Shanti Jai Jai Shri
So we'll chant the Sri Ram Ashtakam in your books, and then the Hanuman Chalisa right afterwards. Chidakaro Darta Parama Sukada Pavanatanu Munindre Yogindre Yatipati Surendre Hanumanta Sada Saivya Purno Janatatanayanga Suraguru Ramanatu Ramo Ramatu Mama Chitte Pusatam
Hanuman Chalisa.
Shri Guru Charana Saroj Raja Nija Mana Mukura Sudhar Varanam Raghuvara Vimala Jaso Jodaya Kupalachar Buddhihina Tanu Janike Sumiram Pavana Kumar Bala Buddhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Harahu Kare Savikar Jaya Hanuman Jnana Guna Sagar Jaya Kati Shakti Loka Ujagar Rama Duta Atulita Baladama Andani Putra Pavana Sutanama Mahavira Vikrama Bajrangi Umati Nivara Sumati Kesangi Kanchana Varana Viraja Sudesha Varnana Kundala Gundika Kesha Atha Bala Hridaya Vasahu Surabhupa Siyavar Ramachandra ki jai Pavana Sutta Hanuman ki jai Umapati Mahadeva ki jai Ramapati Ramachandra ki jai Sab Santon ki jai Sab Bhakton ki jai Sab Gurudevo ki jai
Jai Jai Sitaram.
And so to close Arati, and just a reminder, we will go right into, with a short break after this, we'll go into a talk from Janardhan about tomorrow's Guru Purnima celebration. And there will be opportunities for questions, and so lots of nice information. Maybe he'll tell a story. We'll see. But before we close Arati, we're going to go into our usual 11 repetitions of Mahamrityunjay mantra. We started this practice, we've been chanting this mantra ever since the founding of this place. Babaji brought it to us as a way of praying for healing, praying for peace. And it became especially important to us as he started to decline in health. And after he passed away, or actually even leading up to his eventual passing, we began this ongoing vigil of chanting the mantra 11 times after each arati. So we'll do that now, and you're welcome to hold anyone in your heart who you think needs some healing. Certainly a lot of need for healing all the time, but especially now it's in our awareness, and we have to stay focused on the positive and on the healing energies in light of all the injustices and absolutely horrific violence, and of course this disease that's spreading across our entire world. So what the mantra is basically saying is that we pray to be removed from the ignorance, or we pray that the ignorance is removed, that ignorance that we identify with the surrounding world as real. So in yoga philosophy, the only reality is that which never changes, which is deep inside of the heart, and it connects all of us. So by identifying with that reality, you're freed from the cycle of birth and death. It says, like a ripe fruit dropping from a tree, and may we never forget our immortal nature. So we'll chant Om one time, and then we'll do the mantra 11 times through. Join if you feel comfortable, if you have the words there, or as you can get it, or just listen and let the mantra have its effect. So one Om, 11 times through, and then a few moments of silence at the end.
सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् स्वः भुवः भुः ॐ सः जुह्नौं ॐ हौं जुं सः ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् स्वः भुवः भुः ॐ सः जुह्नौं ॐ हौं जुं सः ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् स्वः भुवः भुः ॐ सः जुह्नौं ॐ हौं जुं सः ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् स्वः भुवः भुः ॐ सः जुह्नौं ॐ हौं जुं सः ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् स्वः भुवः भुः ॐ सः जुह्नौं ॐ हौं जुं सः ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् स्वः भुवः भुः ॐ सः जुह्नौं ॐ हौं जुं सः ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् स्वः भुवः भुः ॐ सः जुह्नौं
like to have a tilak, please come forward. We'll sanitize and we'll mask and we'll...
So we will take about 15 minutes now. So you can take a little bio break if you need. And at around 7 o'clock, Janardhan will be giving his talk. We'll have explanation of the Guru Purnima observance that we'll be doing tomorrow. So just stay right here, same channel, and Janardhan will be here, and we'll have an opportunity to discuss or ask questions via the chat, and so we can say more about that when we do. So 7 o'clock, we'll see you in a few minutes here with Janardhan.
Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Om Namah Shivaya.
Banana's looking good. Okay. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? I know you're out there. And I think we're ready to begin our evening conversation. And I want to first say pranams and welcome to all of you. Namaste. Salutations. Continuing here at Sankat Mochan Hanuman Temple. And I know there's a fair number of you connected here this evening. So it's very interesting to see a few people here in this big, beautiful space that can hold so many of us, and to know that we have to be separated at this time. But connectivity really happens in an inner realm that's beyond all of this stuff. So we'll carry on and we'll be together as best we can here. So as was mentioned in the schedule that you got, this will be a conversation about Guru Purnima, a little bit about the history, the roots of Guru Purnima, meaning and so forth. And also, this will be a little bit of delving into the practice that we'll be doing tomorrow, which is Yaga. So, and I'll speak more directly to that in a little bit. Also, as we go through, if you do have questions, you can type them into the chat there, and they'll be monitored. And at different times, we might pause and address a question or two. And we can also do more of that at the end. So we'll try to close in about an hour and 15 minutes or so. We'll see. Depends on how the conversation goes here. So now, Guru Purnima. It's said that thousands of years ago, the tradition of Guru Purnima began. The Guru is the one who dispels the darkness, or the one who brings to light that which is hidden from our awareness. In Tantra, the root words of Guru are Gu, meaning remover, and Ru, darkness. In simple language, Guru is frequently translated as teacher, spiritual preceptor. Poornima means full, and it refers, in this case, to the full moon of the Guru, the full moon specific for honoring the Guru. One thing to note is that the full moon in yogic symbolism represents the mind filled with the light of higher consciousness, the reflective light of the sun. The mind has no light of its own. It merely reflects what is coming into it from higher consciousness. So the full moon represents the mind when it is fully illumined, unencumbered by its own ego, tendencies and properties, selfishness. When that's absent, then there's this full spirit of higher consciousness that's infusing the whole mind. There's a great and revered sage named Vyas. He is said to be responsible for editing the 4 Vedas, writing the 18 Puranas, the Mahabharata, and the Srimad Bhagavatam. An enormous amount of spiritual literature. And in honor of this tremendous gift to humanity, a tradition began of honoring Vyas on the full moon that falls in these summer months. It's a tradition of honoring Vyas as really the Guru of Gurus and honoring one's individual Guru. So, and this is occurring during the monsoon season traditionally in India, a difficult time for travel and going about. So mostly in the ascetic traditions, they would gather together with their Guru and stay stationary when it was so difficult due to the heavy rains to be able to move around. And they would practice intensively their spiritual discipline. And to sanctify their pursuit, they would first pay oblations to Vyas and to their spiritual preceptor, their own Guru. To millions of spiritual aspirants the world over, there is no other more auspicious person than the Guru. No other more auspicious relationship that we can have than with the Guru. And no other more auspicious day than the day of Guru Purnima for honoring and bringing full focus and intention toward honoring the spiritual preceptor. Deeply ingrained in the Hindu tradition is the belief that the Guru is the only guarantee and hope for transcending the bondage of sorrow and death and experiencing the self or higher consciousness. The Guru is the one who has crossed to the other shore and now stands on the threshold of immortality to act as a link for us to the infinite. There's a prayer attributed to Sri Shankaracharya expressing the profound nature of the Guru. Many of us know it and chant it all the time, thinking deeply on it and its meaning. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Reva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. The Guru is no other than Brahma, the creator. The Guru is no other than Vishnu, the sustainer, the preserver. The Guru is no other than Shiv, the destroyer. The Guru is verily Brahm itself. To the divine Guru we bow. Now, this interpretation is the traditional view of the spiritual Guru. The Sanskrit root for the word Guru is, the root word is Gri, which means to honor or to praise. So it's referring to one who is venerated, who is honored and praised. Babaji repeatedly reminded us that the Guru is not limited by any one form. The whole universe is a manifestation of the Guru, as the whole universe can be seen as a teacher. Babaji writes about this in his book, Fire Without Fuel, in Aphorism 77. He speaks of the great sage Dattatreya, who when asked about his Guru, did he have a Guru? He said, oh yes, 24 of them. What he was referring to are the 24 tattvas of Samkhya philosophy, saying that everything in creation, everything in manifestation, in all levels, causal, subtle, gross, everything is a form of the Guru. Everything is a teacher. Everything can help illumine our mind. Everything is essentially filled with the essence of spirit. So it's to be honored, it's to be praised. When we're children, our parents are our first gurus. Our brothers and sisters, despite what a pain they are, often, they are forms of the Guru. They guide us in the world and teach us right from wrong. Elder siblings, our parents, it's their duty. As we grow, our friends become a vehicle for us to learn in our life. In school, our teachers are gurus. And when as young adults we begin to study our trade in life, our teacher is again a form of the Guru. So we can see that the relationship with the Guru is not unique to Hinduism. The relationship with a Guru is natural to life, to everyone. So all of us develop a relationship in multiple forms with this idea of the Guru. And it's incumbent on us as spiritual aspirants to acknowledge that relationship, to honor it and respect it for the gift that it is. For those who devote themselves to the spiritual path, it is said that one way or another that relationship will become preeminent. One way or another that relationship will manifest. Babaji always taught us that all forms of the Guru are manifestations of one splendorous light, the light of the self within. Babaji was often asked about the Guru-disciple relationship and if the Guru is necessary for one's spiritual development. There's a quote from Babaji on this. The Guru-disciple relationship is based on trust, faith, devotion, and effort to attain knowledge. That relationship can't be established simply by giving a mantra or a spiritual name. If you have faith in me, then I am your teacher. Further, he stressed, the Guru is your own self, which is projected onto a person who is more knowledgeable and capable of teaching. In the beginning, an aspirant seeks support from outside, which is given by the teacher. But when the aspirant begins meditating honestly, then their own self is realized and revealed as the Guru. Then the aspirant starts turning inward and finds the path, as Babaji puts it, shown by the voice of the heart. So the inner realm within us is where we meet that Guru, the self. Sri Ramana Maharshi was a great saint of southern India who left his body in April 1950. It's said that he didn't have a physical guru, an embodied guru, but when questioned about it, he implied that he might have had one at some time or another. In fact, he said that the guru was absolutely necessary to deliver one from bondage. He himself composed and sang hymns to Arunachala, the sacred mountain that he lived at the foot of for the last 50 plus years of his life. At a boy of 16 years old, having a radical awakening to the self, never ever did that state leave him for the rest of his life. So he witnessed and experienced that Arunachal was Shiv, God Shiv, manifest. And at the foot of Arunachal is Arunachaleshwar temple, big Shiv temple. And that was not just a big temple, that was actually the feet of Lord Shiv coming down. So his vision, what he could see, was that level of manifestation of consciousness. He told his disciples that the mountain was a manifestation of the self, and also all of the hymns that were sung, these word manifestations of higher consciousness, the self, as were all of his devotees. He told them, you're all just manifestations of this self. How does the Guru energy work to affect an inner awakening in the devotee? Ramana Maharshi answered his disciples in this way. The word upadesha, or spiritual instruction, literally means restoring an object to its proper place. The mind of the disciple, having become differentiated from its true nature, primal state of pure being, which is the self and which is described in the scriptures as Sat Chit Anand, existence, consciousness, and bliss. It slips away from that state and, assuming the form of thought, constantly pursues objects of sense gratification. Therefore, it is assailed by the vicissitudes of life and becomes weak and dispirited. Upadesha, the spiritual instruction, consists in the Guru restoring to its primal state and preventing it from slipping away from the state of pure being, of absolute identity with the self, or in other words, the being of the Guru. It consists in the Guru showing the disciple what he had considered as distant and different from himself to be immediate and identical with oneself. I'd like to read one other quote from Ramana Maharshi that reminds me of Babaji. Silence is the most potent form of work. However vast and emphatic the scriptures may be, they fail in their effect. The Guru is quiet, and peace prevails in all. His silence is vaster and more emphatic than all the scriptures put together. These questions of life and liberation arise because of the feeling that in spite of having been here so long, heard so much, striven so hard, you have not gained anything. The process that goes on inside of you is not apparent to you. In fact, the Guru is always within you. You can see words like that there on Babaji's board or in his beautiful watery eyes. So I want to say a little bit about Yaga now, and our tradition here that we have been living for over 40 years under Babaji's guidance. So we have a tradition of observing Guru Purnima, a day of song, of prayer, of ritual, and of play. Always with Babaji, play, very key in life. I'd like to say a little more about the ceremony of Yaga and hopefully help provide a context so that it can be more personally relatable when you participate with it tomorrow, when you see it and participate. Now, yajna is a Sanskrit word, and it often translates just simply as sacrifice. It derives from the root word yaj, meaning to worship. Now, to our early spiritual ancestors, yajna was seen as a profound process which is at the heart of creation itself. Ramon Panakar, who's a contemporary theologian, one parent from India, and had strong influence from India in his spirituality. He wrote an anthology called The Vedic Experience. And he writes that if one had to choose a single word to express the quintessence of the Vedic revelations, the word yajna, or sacrifice, would perhaps be the most adequate. So to sum up the quintessence of the Vedas, yajna would perhaps be the most essential word to capture what all of the Vedas are saying, teaching. When looking at the teachings about yajna from early spiritual ancestors, we see a beautiful, grand, very reverential presentation of what yajna is. In the early Vedic hymns, yajna is put forth as an expedient invented by the gods themselves for bringing forth all things and beings in the world, and adopted by human beings for securing their wealth and welfare. In the Rig Veda, it is said that the gods who were first created performed a sacrifice through their will and contemplation, and offered the person of the Creator himself as an oblation, and thus performed the first of the sacrifices. And out of this primordial sacrifice, the first principles of life were formed. Many of the early scriptures describe the birth of this manifest creation as a process of the Creator God sacrificing himself so that life might arise. In the Atharva Veda, yajna is called the chariot of the gods. It's a vehicle for facilitating the function of spirit in the world. The yajna which brought forth this creation is said to continue for all time and remains as the source for all things in the universe. The entire earth is the sacrificial platform, the directions, the surrounding rampart. When we were first establishing our temple here at Mount Madonna Center, I would frequently welcome and introduce people and say, our temple, it's vast. The walls go out as far as you can see, and the roof is this big magical blue dome over us. So we were always quite outdoors for many, many years. Very, very beautiful what it could hold, what we had here. The Yajurveda says that the yajna which human beings are required to perform is the reenactment of the cosmic drama of creation and regeneration by self-sacrifice and dismemberment of one's own constitution. Dismemberment of one's own constitution. It's a method of worshiping the gods and is itself considered a god. When we hear some of these grand spiritual ideas, we can't help but wonder if something from so long ago can still have relevance to you and I at this time and at this stage of life in the world. Can a scripture purported to be thousands of years old still provide guidance and inspiration for our modern times? The Vedic hymns speak to us in poetry, in symbol, and in cadence. And they tell a story of our origins. They tell a story that is meant to stir deep memories of who we are beyond our smaller personal stories. They tell a story of our divine heritage and our duty if we choose to live a full life. As a human species, we're a composite of experiences that have roots that extend to the beginning of time. As individuals, we have a personal past history that informs us, and we also have the shared history of the human race, stored in our DNA, in the subtle recesses of our minds, and more importantly, in our hearts. The poetry and symbols of these ancient Vedic hymns can work on us in ways that frees up the mind from its incessant need to conceptualize, from being reductionist, from bringing it all into an order that one can try to understand, to limit and interpret our knowledge and our experience in easily digested nuggets. This is the need for the mind to organize itself and escape from what is really fundamentally an existential dread that we all carry. The poetry and symbols of the hymns can awaken us to a profound and deep mystery of our own existence. The Vedic hymns are not fixed, codified teachings from ancient times. They are living revelations of ancient seers and saints, revealed truths, telling us that we have a rich spiritual heritage in our human race, and inviting us to step into the fullness of being and participate with the gods in the great yajna that is life. Ritam Satyam Paramam Param. This quote translates as, the truth, Ritam, is the highest of all truths. So related to the principle of yajna is Rita. So it's a Sanskrit term found in the Rig Veda, so from the early Vedic time. Rita refers to the cosmic order, underlying principle of harmony and order that governs the whole manifest creation. It is an all-pervasive concept of cosmic order that's based on the interconnectedness of all things. It's a cosmocentric view of life as opposed to an egocentric view of life. The work of life, the highest duty in our life, according to the scriptures, is to develop an awareness of the cosmic principles from which all life emerges and align ourselves with them. Renouncing that egotistic notion to have everything centered around this I that we think we are, our mind-body complex. The foundation or content of Rita is said to be truth. That's the highest truth that's rooted in that fundamental order, cosmic order and harmony that governs all life. The natural cycles or rhythms of the cosmos are rooted in this truth. And if we align ourselves with that natural law, we will lead a life which is the essence of truth. The natural law is that creation begins, sustains, and dissolves as a process of self-dedicated action. It is like that with everything in nature, including ourselves. The natural law is that creation begins, sustains, and dissolves as this process of self-dedicated action, surrender of the self, surrender, sacrifice, yajna. There is forever a cycle going on in our lives: birth, growth, decay, and death. And it is for this reason that in the Vedic perception, consciously or unconsciously, we are part of a great cosmic yajna just by being alive. It isn't a matter of, oh, I wonder if I'll go to the yajna today. You are in the yajna. You are already a log on the fire. It's a matter of, wake up, smell that smoke? Oh, that's me on fire. The yajna is going on. It isn't a question, but it's how we bring our awareness and our attention to that notion of serving the great yajna by dedicating self-sustaining action that we have in us and dedicating it to service of the whole. Yajna ritual was developed as a means to symbolically participate in the natural cosmic order. It gives us a context to transcend our limited notion of self and engage in a sacred work leading to awareness of our own higher nature. When we do yajna, the first part of our ceremony is called a puja, worship ceremony. involving repetition of mantras for purifying all the gross and subtle elements of the body. And the mantras that we chant are said to awaken subtle divine energies in us. All form is a vibration, a hardened vibration, so to speak, of a subtler energy. And that subtler energy is related to mantra, sound. So just as in the Bible we hear, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Similarly in the Vedic scriptures and in the yogic teachings, that same principle abides. So all manifestation emerges out of that primordial sound, which is Om. Everything flows from that. The pure sounds of the Vedic mantras that we use set up a movement of energy and connect us with these subtle locations within the body. The quality or nature of the sounds purifies the mind, awakens sattvic vrittis, sattvic thoughts, and knowledge. And in this way, by the various mantras, we are awakening to our own divine form. Some of the mantras are accompanied with hand mudras, hand gestures, joining the thumb to the different fingers, so forth, and going over the different energy centers of the body, intoning a mantra. So again, uniting a subtle energy from our fingers joining in a certain way, and holding it on a subtle energy center, intoning a mantra, and thereby bringing alive that subtle divine presence that's there. Mudra means to please, one interpretation. The various hand mudras that we use are said to be pleasing to the gods, in that they're stimulating these subtle energies throughout the body and mind. In many of the mantras that we use, we're invoking the energy of a very specific or particular deity or deva. And the word deva comes from the root word divya, which means the shining ones. So the shining ones are the energies of consciousness or spirit in us. They're in us in multiple forms. The senses are considered shining ones within us. They're ways that consciousness power inhabits this body and creates these different ways for us to experience. And these are all really manifestations of divine consciousness, but having these very specific forms. Subtler levels of energy also abide within the spiritual energies that relate more to higher consciousness, higher awareness. Having transformed consciousness through the various mantras as we go through the rituals, mudras, the hand mudras, pranayam is frequently a part of it, purifying the mind by redirecting the pranic subtle energy of the body. All of these things then help to develop a meditative state, a state which is beginning to be moving one toward a more transition place. And this kind of relates to the whole idea of what the temple environment is. I'll speak more directly to it, but the temple environment is a kind of a threshold. So in rituals, we go through different processes and we get to a threshold where we're not where we were when we started. We're not fully to where we're going. We're in this suspended place in between in the process of this bigger surrender that the ritual is leading us through. So in second part of the puja, we make all these offerings, and this is related to that principle in the scriptures, in the Vedas, that say it's a dismemberment of one's own constitution. As all the offerings that we make are like the fragrance, the incense, the beautiful flowers, the water, and the fruits, and the foods, and all these different things, they represent all of this energy of our senses. So all of them have a symbolism to our different sensory experiences. And we offer all of that, surrendering it to spirit. So all of this now puts us into a place of a transformation where it isn't that we're operating in service of the ego, but we're operating that we can surrender these senses, that they'll serve that higher principle. And the second half is a fire sacrifice. So in the fire sacrifice, we use a yantra. And I want to take a minute and we'll kind of look at this yantra here that we'll be using tomorrow. So a yantra as a form is an instrument. So, and yantra traditionally could have many, many different forms. It's an instrument that you might use for navigating in ships across great distances in the ocean and so forth. That was a form of yantra. So it's an instrument that has also a relationship toward maybe far travel. So in this case, the yantra, it's, and yan, the first part of yantra is yam, to hold. It's coming from that term. And trana. So it's holding the energies of liberation. It's holding this story of creation and liberation is what a yantra is doing. So the yantra that we will use for Guru Purnima is called Ganapati Yantra, which you see here. And this is the yantra for the Lord of the Ganas, Ganeshji. So why Ganeshji at Guru Purnima? So Ganesh is honored and worshipped for siddhis, for gaining siddhi, and also for overcoming obstacles. So Ganeshji, and you can see is the bindu in this particular yantra is an om. And Ganesh is associated with om, with that vibration of om. So in the very center is the bindu. And that holds these pure energies of consciousness, will, and matter. So it's pure consciousness, will as an energy of expression of that consciousness in an active form, and then matter principles that it will inhabit and begin to manifest further. So what you see in this one is that there's primordial energies there in the middle. There's the Om, and then there's a blue triangle, and then there's a red triangle superimposed over it. Similarly, here on the yajna site, you don't see it so well, but without the carpets on it, you can start to glean that the center of this whole yajna site, the Vedi here, is the same mandala form. There is a big red triangle, which is a goddess mother triangle, point down there, top here, and there's a blue triangle that's underneath of it, pointing upward. That's a Shiv triangle. And then the goddess mother triangle superimposed over. So the first expression out of those, the energy of that bindu, the Om, is this pure energy of Shiv, which is that blue triangle, and then superimposed and immediately emerging at one and the same time is this energy of Shakti, the goddess mother principle. And then those two energies together manifest everything in creation. So in this Ganapati Yantra, you see 8 petals around it, 8 lotus petals, and they're all similarly, you can see they're a bulge side to make a petal shape, but basically they're all those same 3 energies of consciousness, will, and matter in an active, expressive form. So that dynamic of the bulge sides is suggesting all of that. And those 8 represent the 3 aspects of mind and the 5 elements. So this is called the Ashtada Prakriti, 8 forms of Prakriti. So this is saying that the 8 forms, the 3 aspects of your mind and the 5 elements that manifest everything that we experience and know in creation and in our life, that they're all emerged straight out of that pure energy of consciousness, Shiv, Shakti. And they're all infused with those pure energies. They're also shown in a red form, like the Shakti energy, because they're active and expressive, they're dynamic and moving outward in creation. So in this case, in using Ganapati Yantra, we'll be using the Guru Gayatri mantra with that. So we'll say a little bit about that in the latter part here. So we're going to, in the course of the second part of the ceremony, we're going to make a fire. We'll build a fire on top of the yantra. And the fire we invoke with a mantra, which is activating energy of consciousness in it. And then a group of people will make offerings to the fire. And the offerings will be of seed mixture, herbs, ghee, honey, fragrances, and so forth, that are all representing our samskaras. Any and all activities that we might perform in life are represented by the seed mixture that we offer to the fire. So in so doing, what the principle at work here is that whatever we put into fire will become fire. So any and all of these characteristics that we identify with ourselves is what these seeds represent. Any action that we might perform, be it good, bad, or indifferent. If they're all represented by these seeds, we offer it there that it can be just as a surrender, any and all action to God or to Spirit, Divine Mother. So this is the process of what happens in that Yaga ceremony. And it's quite detailed, a lot of the different symbols and the equipages and so forth that get used, and all through chanting the different Vedic mantras that go with the offerings. Last offering is a critical one of a coconut. And the coconut is offered to represent the mind-body complex. So we take the coconut and we open the eyes in it. And just as we have 3 eyes, the spiritual eye and the 2 eyes for sight, similarly, coconut has those 3 eyes. So we open that main eye, the 3rd eye, you can say, open that and empty out the coconut milk, and then we offer ghee into it and offer it into the fire after that, chanting a prayer with it. So the coconut is representing, as I say, the mind-body complex. And the ghee that's offered is going into the coconut, which is representing the egg, and the ghee is representing the sperm. So it's this process of the emergence of life from the uniting of the egg and the seed, the sperm. That produces the mind-body complex and all the attendant samskaras that flood to help fill that form in order to be worked out in life. So by offering that coconut, what the symbolism of it is that we're surrendering that false identification that we are just the mind-body complex. And we're identifying with that which is the eternal presence in us, the self. Babaji taught us to cultivate an awareness that yajna is the nature of life. Sacrifice is going on moment to moment. As I mentioned earlier, it's not a question of if there will be a yajna that you'll be at today. You are living a yajna. It's how you turn your awareness to it. Also, Babaji taught us in very, very gentle ways, the Guru relationship is central to your life in a myriad of forms to dispel darkness and awaken you to your true nature. It is there as foundational for you. And we need to try to awaken to that, honor that. Having witness somebody that obviously is experiencing life very differently, joyous in a most profound way and beautiful, it makes it so much, just it impels one to seek and surrender and do whatever we can to try to be in that, to be with that, to serve it, at least just to serve it, to be able to serve someone like that. It's a beautiful thing. So, I want to say a little bit about this environment here that all this takes place in, because or actually, Shantam, is there any question or anything we should address so far?
You can ask for questions and take
Oh, okay.
20 or 30 seconds for people to
Oh, okay.
see that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so if people have questions, especially on that first part that we've kind of gone through, about the, puja, Guru Purnima, Guru, and or just that brief sketch of the yagya, please, you can send it on the chat, and then we can address it. And in the meantime, I'm going to take a little slug of water here, and we'll also start talking about the bigger field that we're in here, this temple environment. So, we will. Oh, is this a question? Oh, okay. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Thank you for this, JD. I'm wondering about the attributes of the wood and the structure of the fire itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the attributes of the wood that we use in a fire, and then the structure, how we build it, because there is a specific way that we do build that he's referring to and has seen. So in using the wood, traditionally in India, mango wood was a very good wood that would be used for yagya fire, and there are certain very specific ones also that aren't really ones we would get here so readily in the U.S. But a good hardwood is preferred, and one that doesn't have any bugs in it, nothing that is kind of rotted or anything, and that is being feasted on by termites or ants or bugs or anything. You don't want to put anything like that into the fire. So we would always use very clean wood, hardwood here, and occasionally people give us some specific kinds of wood that they import from India, and we'll have these little sticks of mango wood and so forth that we'll also use. So you'll see some of that perhaps tomorrow. But the key things there are that it's a hardwood, that it's very clean, that it's dry, and traditionally wood would get washed to be very clean and then dried in the sun, and then it would be used for the yagya fire. So does that speak to some of it there? And then the building of it, the structure of it. So typically what you're trying to do in the yantra, and you see it here in this form also, there's the yantra in the middle, and then there's 3 lines on the sides, and then 3 lines on the top. So the pujari, the person performing the ceremony, sits on that side, that open side, so to speak. So these lines are protections. They're symbolizing these protective lines there, so that there won't be energy coming in from the sides and this side. So the mantras and all the chanting and the offerings all enter the fire from this side, or enter the yantra, and then the fire is built from that side. So typically then we would lay wood on the side and crossing on the front here, but it would remain open on that end and stacked up in such a way so that just as we would chant the mantras into the fire like that, the wind will come into the fire through that area also. So the wind will come and rise up between. So we typically will add 3 layers of logs, and a traditional size that gets used is said to be from the elbow to the tip of the finger. So it's around 18, 19 inches, and for many of us about my size here. So we try to cut the wood like that. And similarly, it's something that isn't gonna, it's not rounded, it's something that's squared off so that it won't roll also, so that it stacks neatly. And so that's the basic structure then we would make as well. And we will add different ingredients into it. We'll add ghee into it with mantra and so forth, and help it to catch fire. We'll offer camphor into it, so forth. Is there another question here? Yeah.
So We have a question here from Leslie. Are there smaller and intimate pujas for Guru Purnima that people in India perform at home traditionally?
I would say yes, because there's every kind of puja and different tradition throughout India that you can imagine. India is so incredibly diverse, and that has been brought home to us more since we've opened Sankat Mochan Hanuman Temple here at the center, as people come from all over India. Babaji being from the north, we were all trained in traditions from the Himalayas, the Kamon region there, the mountain region where he was born and lived. So most of our training is all coming from that area. But there's a lot of diversity and throughout all parts of India. So I am certain there's every kind of possible puja. And from what I understand is that Guru Purnima is really a very powerfully inspired tradition in the ascetic cults, traditions, let's say the renunciates. And because they're really focused around transformation, liberation in this life, and being with the Guru who is from that other shore and will help to guide them and so forth. So, yes. So I would say yes, lots of different things.
A couple more questions here now. So from Ferig, I'll read the two questions. One question here says, how many times do we chant the mantras? And there's another question from Laurie McDonald that says, what is the meaning of wearing the black ash on the forehead during ceremony, and when does it get applied and why?
Okay. So the mantras that we chant, the mantra we chant when we're offering to the seed mixture to the fire, we chant 108 times, and we do 108 offerings. So this is a traditional form of doing that. And the black ash that is applied, that we use, is from the coconut that's taken out of the fire at the completion of the ceremony. So the coconut, as you might recall, it represents the mind-body complex and that false understanding that that's wholly who we are. That's all that we are, is this mind and body. But we renounce that, we surrender that false understanding into the fire with the mantra. And the mantra, this is an important thing, the mantra that we use to offer that coconut into the fire is one that many of you have heard. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagnao Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahmakarma Samadhina Hari Om Tat Sat. So it's saying that God is the fire. God is the offering implement. God is the coconut that's being offered. God is the offerer. God is the action of offering into the fire. And that one who offers in that way is free from bondage. So totally surrendering and recognizing, acknowledging that it's all just the interplay of God with God, is what the mantra is saying there. So then that ash is taken and it's applied, and frequently it can be put on two different locations. So one, it can be placed at the brow center and also underneath here. And we would say it's here by Vishuddha chakra, under the dimpled throat area there. So again, this is just representing that we've burnt that false understanding. And these two locations, it has to do with what's called avidya kshetra, or this field of ignorance, which is the field of the sensory, the five senses and so forth, which is from Vishuddha chakra down. That's called the field of ignorance. And then, so avidya kshetra and vidya kshetra. So the field of knowledge, which is the upper chakras, so from Agya to Sahasrara. So that's the understanding that you've burnt that illusory relationship and understanding that that's who you are, just what your five senses tells you are, and you're abiding in and living from an awareness of your higher nature. Yeah, here's another one. Okay.
Okay, so this is from our own Arpita. She's asking, can you say more about the symbolism of dismemberment?
Yes. Dismemberment is a process that, as I mentioned, that when we go through the puja, we offer things that represent our heart. We offer things that represent our mind, all of our senses, sense of taste, touch, smell, etc., in all these different forms, whether it's flowers or incense or foods or water. And so traditionally there are 16 main offerings that we would say we would do in this kind of puja. And this is the way that you're symbolically dismembering, because you're going, my sense of smell is not who I am. I surrender that to you. I will use my sense of smell only in service of higher awareness. So it's that meaning of dismembering, that you're taking apart your understanding. You just look at it as a whole. Most of us, we're this whole being, and we have all this stuff going on, and it's me. But now it's going to be going through and going, no, I am not, because our senses are imperfect instruments. They do not see the truth. They help us to navigate the world in very gross ways and so forth. They can be very useful, but they do not know the whole truth. They are imperfect instruments, but we regard them with such an import that to drive our life. But so this is indicating that you need to get beyond that. Now, an interesting thing in some traditions, such as in high altitudes, some of us from here went to Mount Kailash a number of years ago, and we went to this does relate to this in a way, but we went to this place, and before we started to go around the mountain, and our guides that were with us, we said, what is this area up here? It was like this big flat area that seemed to be coming out of the side of the mountain, and it was huge looking. And they said, oh, that's a sky burial site. Now, in high altitude areas, there isn't the ability to bury your loved one. There isn't the ability to even cremate your loved one because you're above the tree line. So what's done is a very, very practical thing, is that the body is taken to a sacred site and it's dismembered. Literally, it's hacked up and put out there for the animals to come, and they help in that dismemberment process. They devour. So our guides we said to them, can you take us up there? Can we look? And they kind of looked a little bit like, okay. And so we started to go up there. 2 of us went with them. A couple of us stayed back. We got up there and we started walking, and it was this huge, vast, flat area. And then we realized we were seeing colors and clothes and these little pyres of stone and so forth. And then we started to see these hacked up, partially mummified body parts. And, maybe a machete and a hatchet and blood and clothing and stuff. And it was the most bizarre scene. It was almost like you could hear some otherworldly music going on. And as we were walking and saw this, and our guides were right with us, and then they saw these wild dogs coming down off of the hillside, off the side of the mountain. And they said, we have to go now quickly. The dogs are coming. Because the dogs always come when they see people. People are coming there to bring their loved one, to dismember them, and then to leave them. And then the dogs come. And they said, we have to go because the dogs will come for us. Once they've got their salivation going, they need to whet that appetite. So, and then they told us, so we quickly went off and got out of there. And then they told us that a couple of years back, some Westerners thought they'll go up there and they'll meditate in that area. And they'll meditate there so that they can help overcome their fear and be able to really renounce that attachment to the mind-body complex. And they will do these meditations, because there are really specific meditations where you visualize offering parts of your body in different traditions. So they were going to go up there and do this. They never came down from there. They were eaten in the night by those dogs. So that's a very uplifting story for Guru Purnima story, I know. But it just came in out of the side because Arpita, did Arpita ask that? Okay. So I hope that makes you rest well tonight, Arpita. I think about the story all the time, and it really helps me. So, but I don't know. That might not help you and Rajendra thinking about that either. Now, where were we? The full moon is coming. There's an eclipse tomorrow night. And I mentioned earlier the thing that's a beautiful part about the symbolism of the mind and the moon is that when the moon is full, it represents the mind being full of this reflective light of higher consciousness. But then you have this issue of an eclipse coming along and blocking it. So it's a very, very powerful full moon this time at Guru Purnima. The full moon will come after we're completed with the ceremony. So we will have completed, which we always do. We go into the full moon energy when we do the ceremony, and we don't do it after the moon is already waning. So we'll purify ourselves and then do our yagya tomorrow morning. Now, we are done with those questions, right? And I want to say something about the Vedi and the Yantra here and this whole field that we're in, this temple environment. You can see, I mean, many of you know, but I'm not sure some of you who are in the retreat, if you've even been to the property here, but there's Ganesh temple over here, and there's a symbolic mountain area here which represents the origin of the Ganga. So Babaji, being from the Himalayas also, he would always integrate these kinds of architectural forms into something that he might build. So you can see there's the Gaumukh, the mouth of the Ganga being in the mountains. Gaumukh is the mouth of the cow that the Ganga is flowing from. So there's a representation of that there, and Shiv Lingams coming down in three different streams, the three streams, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiv, and so forth. And then Ganesh in his island there. And this beautiful area that these are all things that come out of the mind, would come out of the mind of Babaji, and we would never know. We would just, he'd say, we'll do this now, we'll do this, and then pretty soon you'd realize you were really doing something very unusual and different and special. Same thing happened with the temple. There's so many remarkable stories, really. But what I want to really say is that the temple environment is a really, really special kind of a context. So they've served as social and cultural centers, educational centers, and a special pilgrimage sites for seekers for thousands of years. So temple environments have this very, very unique property of pulling seekers to come to them. And that's frequently the temple environment might be one in a high mountain region. Very frequently they're stationed in the mountains and so forth, where one would have to pilgrimage to go to there. So this was very common, of course, where Babaji's from. And the temple environments have all of these different facets about it as a social, as a cultural center, as an educational center, and then as this very special site for bringing people who are seeking this other level of transformation, of liberation, of trying to go to the other shore, so to speak. So they are fundamentally transformational fields of symbols, sacred tools, rituals that can tell stories and that are meant to awaken stories and stir deep memories, give us hints to deeper meaning and purpose of our lives. Clues, if you will, to the process and possibility of liberation. So the temple environment is meant to serve all of these things. It's a threshold place. It's neither there, the world, nor totally the transcendental. It's this in-between place. You come and you set the stage for this other level of experience. So, and it has to do, Ramana Maharshi said how these energies of Brahma, creation, sustenance, and dissolution are always accompanied with two other energies. One is grace, and one is Maya, illusion. So grace. So you come to this field, this special transformational field, and if you are purified to a degree, grace may totally take you and lift you into a transformational place of higher consciousness. So, and this is what all of us, any and all of us, we're all driven by this urge, fundamental urge to merge. Whether we're aware of it or not, we're seeking that kind of a peace, and we're seeking that kind of an immersion in something that is in our memory, this awareness that there was peace. There is some deeper peace that we've been in before, and we are driven to find it and be there again. Just like the moth that's beating itself against the light, trying to get merged with that light. We're like that really in our lives. We're just so struggling frequently in life just to try to find peace, to be in peace. So, and these kind of environments are ones that seem to attract many people who really need that, need to find that field, that special field that will inspire. So this, as I mentioned earlier, this idea of it being like a threshold place, this energy of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. There's also another term, a Sanskrit term called tirtha. And tirtha is a word that it's a Sanskrit word that refers to a special crossing place. So it's a place that you might literally cross a river. So you might go to the river and you have to go to the special place where the boatman is, and then he will take you across the river. And so it has to do with these kind of sites like that are special for taking one across to the other shore. So in a mundane sense, a tirtha can be one of these kind of mundane locations that actually facilitates your movement in the world. But it has that deeper significance that the tirtha is something, it's this crossing place for crossing to the other shore, for moving toward liberation, for leaving the mundane and merging. So in Jain tradition, they say that sacred being, the Tirthankara, is one who has gone beyond. And that being becomes this place, this presence, this energy that is attractive. So Tirtha term is what I'm referencing there, that they are one who has gone beyond. And frequently, Tirtha is a site that is established also and formed around a saint who might go into the mountains, and then that begins to be this place everybody seeks out. And again, rivers, lakes are always associated with it. And this idea of crossing over to liberation. So most tirthas, or places like this, they maintain a sanctity for centuries. Now at one level, and you can look at this in practical ways or in very symbolic ways. At one level, of course, at the river crossing, the boatman is going to keep changing. One person dies, another person does it. The duty remains. You have to cross the river. People have to cross the river. And so the boatman knows they don't own the river. They just have a duty. And that's to help facilitate this movement. Similarly, at the spiritual centers, a spiritual tirtha has boatmen. It could be a sage. There could be some who just facilitate They're custodians of a sacred site, much as we are here at Mount Madonna Center. I have a firm belief that Mount Madonna Center is this emerging tirtha. This place has been founded by Baba Haridas. Very rare, unique saint from traveling in India a fair bit and talking to so many people. And I'm firmly believing Babaji is a very, very unique and rare human being. And what is here is very, very rare and unique. The whole of Mount Madonna Center and this particular field here, this temple that he set up and established. So as caretakers, as custodians, we have a duty to serve the seekers who come. That is the natural thing. The teachings, we don't own them, we have to share them. We have to be together with others and share them. Yeah, I think there's some question here.
Question came in here. This is from Karen. Any suggestions for how we can participate more fully in yajna from home tomorrow, as opposed to just observing or watching on a screen?
Yes, there's 2 or more levels to this answer. So first of all, it's whether you're sitting right here at the fire or sitting somewhere else and witnessing something through a computer screen or whatever, as many of you I know will be doing, the same problem is going to be there. You can be sitting here close to the fire and your mind can be at the bakery or anywhere else. So, or you might be really enchanted by all the singing and the smells and so forth and the sensory experience of it. But fundamentally, it all has to be transferred to an inner experience. The real fire is in the heart. The real yajna, the real surrender, is in your own heart. We use all these beautiful, elaborate tools and implements in order to captivate us and help us in that process. But fundamentally, we're in the same position that we have to then make this an inner one, so you don't just get high on the experience, the buzz of it, and so forth, and then walk off and do something dumb out there again that, gets us back in trouble. So it's like it's about how do you make the experience of what your practice is an inner awakening. That's the real key. It's got to be brought inward. So I would just say to connect tomorrow as best you can and be it as a meditative process. We're very challenged, all of us, and it's really a conundrum about how do we stay connected to some of these sacred things that are meaningful to our satsang. And we know that it's a real compromise how this is having to happen. But if we just go with that faith that really it's an inner process that's happening, and no outer instrument is needed at all if you really bring your faith and devotion to it, as Babaji would always tell us, come inside. It's all right there. The fire is right there in the heart. Yeah.
So I think somewhat of a related question. Kristen asks, how shall we show up at home for the yajna? And I was maybe taking that to mean clothing, fasting, preparing their space, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the different things that you do at home that help you to really go inward and recognize that the moments that you're going to spend are some of the most rare and precious moments that you'll ever have. The only time you can ever get awakened is now. There is only now for our practice. So when you engage in that way, no matter what you're doing, if it's a manas puja, meaning that the whole puja process is a mental immersion, that can be very transforming. And that's what kind of attitude I would say to bring. So traditionally, for those of us doing the ceremony and offering, we will fast for a period of time, up to 24 hours, liquids only. Then we will bathe, we will purify, we will wear, if we can, we wear clean white clothing, and we come to the yajna, and we try to just be very, very empty of mind about the outer duties, and come and be as one-pointed as possible in this process we're about to go through. So it's like a journey. It's like a little mini pilgrimage of sorts, and it's all guided. So you can link your mind to it and surrender this, and surrender that, and surrender this, and offer that, and this prayer, and this meaning of this prayer. So, yeah. And I think I'm going to say a little more. Is there no other question, right? Okay, great. Thank you for the questions, and I'm hopeful that it's very important to all of us here at the center that that we can make sure we provide some kind of context for us to all stay connected with this kind of a deeply meaningful tradition that we have with Babaji. So I want to say something also about the whole idea of this site here and what its symbolism is. We talked about the Yantra sun, we talked a little bit about the Ganesh temple, and Hanuman temple had some very unique things about it as we were building it. And one day, when we were building it, Babaji would be here a lot of times and actually climbing around on the temple with us, showing us how to do this, that, and the other when he was in his 80s. Quite astounding what he was able to accomplish. But one day, I was working with one of my friends, and we were standing near to the front door there, and Babaji came along, and he stopped, and he came and he looked around to see how we were doing, and the temple was in a very crude way at that time, concrete mostly. The altar was very roughly formed in there and so forth. So we were standing there, and Babaji came and he appeared in the doorway, and he looked up at the ceiling in the roof where there's a three-dimensional Sri Yantra. At that time it was just all concrete, but it was this three-dimensional form of Sri Yantra. Very, very big, amazing piece of work, really. And he was looking at it, and then he wrote, "Woman giving birth." And my friend and we stepped inside and we looked around and we thought, wow, what is he seeing that we're not seeing? And we looked around and looked at him, and he was gone, looked to find him and say, what was that about, So anyway, we came to learn what that was all about. And that is that in temple architecture, the Sri Yantra, the crown there, Sri Yantra represents the Goddess Mother, supreme consciousness power in the form of the Goddess Mother. And that's what's at the crown of the temple. And then in giving birth, woman giving birth, the inner sanctum there where the altar is, that's called Garbhagriha. So this is the golden womb. This is the womb where the divinity is born. So the Goddess Mother's womb. And this is an eternal process. It's always happening. So that there's this manifestation of Divine Mother, Supreme Consciousness, manifesting creation in a myriad of forms. And in the temple form, it's of a specific deity, in this case, Hanuman. So, and this is considered to be why constantly, every morning, every evening, the ritual happens. You go, you clean, you make the offerings, you offer the prayers, you light the deepas. You do everything you can to try to tend to that relationship. So this duty that we took on when we first established the temple in around 2000 there, it was actually April 11th, 2003, which was Babaji's 80th birthday when we installed Hanumanji. So it was a very, very special day for all of us, and unique in that it was on his 80th birthday. But ever since that day, then, every morning, every evening, the doors open, the temple is cleaned, the offerings are made, the prayers are chanted, the deepas are lit, and then this energy is there to kind of exude outward, spread outward around the property. So this was this field of learning for us here has been really remarkable. And one other characteristic of it is that people come from all over India now who are in the Bay Area, and we learn so many different ways that of different traditions and ways, different forms of puja, so to speak, as somebody was mentioning earlier, are there different forms. And we're getting quite the education, those of us who are attending the temple, from so many of our satsang members from India. So now I want to watch the time here also, because we're close to 8:30 here, and I'll make sure if we have any other questions, but before we do go. And there's one other thing I'll mention about the fact that in saying how do we try to participate and connect with something like the yajna tomorrow. And there's in some of the story and the symbolism of what the temple site is, you can see in yantras, you see it in the stone here, that there's this Vedi in the middle, and this is this place of real transformation where form is surrendered to the smoke and the fire and so forth, and the mantras and prayers all are carried to disperse throughout the whole heaven realm and so forth. So it's this really profound place of transformation where we try to surrender our notion of self and surrender to spirit. And then also, the interesting thing is that's such a radical thing to consider. But so it's the bindu of this, it's the heart of that. But what the yantra here shows is that there are 4 gates. So right now, some of the gates are covered, but you can see, and we'll try to get the camera on it, but 1 gate, 2, 3, and another. So there are 4 gates. So what these 4 gates represent, there are 4 ways of coming into that center point. So this is called also Purush Arata, for the purpose of the self. For the purpose of the self, or this connection with Purush, the self, because Purush means the individual, but it also means the supreme consciousness. So for the purpose of the self, we have these different ways that we can merge. And they're very, very practical, fundamental principles of life. 1, dharma, your duty, your natural duty. No matter what it might be, your gift. Babaji was asked 1,000,000 times or more, how do I know what my dharma is, and so forth. So that's just such a struggle for many of us, and a very real thing. I'm not making slight of it at all. And every time then he would help guide somebody to, your natural gifts. It's like you have certain qualities in you, and it can be, you could be an attorney, or you could be a fire chief, or you could be a teacher, or what have you, or you could be a spiritual leader, all these different things. But whatever it is, that seed of your natural energy, presence in you, that natural gift, that is your dharma. But you also have a higher level of dharma. And that higher level of dharma is that which is your duty. Also, dharma means duty in another way. So it's your duty of how you can serve the creation. And then your duty also is really serve Purush. So you serve the creation, the manifestation, but also you lay down your whole life in service of Purush, the self, and you surrender. So there's 4 gates here. Dharma, your duty. Arat would be the wealth, and any kind of wealth that you might accumulate. It can be very material wealth. That's one very shallow form of it. But also your wealth can also be these very unique, special characteristics and gifts that you might have. In ritual action, we use a chatra, it's called. It's a silver umbrella frequently. You see one on Hanumanji and on Ganeshji when you come to the temple. But chatra is offered, and it represents Sahasrara chakra. That's said to be our highest wealth. So when we use it in the ceremony, you see we're offering that, and we're offering that, this is for you also. This is for the self, for my merging of the self. None of it's mine. It's all yours. It's just, so surrender it, give it. So dharma, artha, your wealth, whatever it might be. Yagya, a form of yagya where you take your wealth and you build hospitals, you build bridges in poor areas, you do whatever you do that helps to serve the creation. So you can be super wealthy and you can do so many good things with that. And that's all a form of yagya. You don't need to have perfectly polished copper vessels and every little nice equipage to do yagya. It's an inner process in your heart of surrendering and giving. So dharma, art, kam, desire, that's a mystery to many. You go, how is dharma, how is kam, desire, a form or a doorway or gateway toward liberation? So when you think about that, it's that you're always purifying what the level of your desire might be. I remember when I was first meeting Babaji, and I was very, always very rajasic, very active, good with asana and so forth, loved all that. And talking to him saying, Babaji, can you tell me what asanas I can do that I can help to channel my energy better and spiritually and not get caught by desires and so forth so much. And he said, you have to experience your desire in order to know what your real desire is. A little tricky, so here at late 20s, 30s, and going, experience my desire? I thought I was trying to be desireless. So we get caught in that often. So there's a very, very important teaching that you have to have always, depending on who you are and where you are in your life and so forth. So you don't just jump to being desireless or whatever. You do it in this very careful way. And there's beautiful stories. Sometimes I tell them in going through these, but we don't really have time for that. But beautiful ways that people transmute desire that has this really kind of raw form into this transcendental experience. So sometime we'll gather and we'll talk about that one. Dharma, artha, kam, desire, moksha, liberation. So sometimes the liberated one is one who is just awakened. They come awakened. Their rebirth is to fulfill some particular function. And that liberation can be right there for some at birth, but for most it's part of a very gradual, long struggle that we move toward. And again, there's some powerful stories that speak about that process of liberation and how it can be so ephemeral. It can be there and it can be so vital and present and seemingly just someone deeply rooted in it. When Maya, as Ramana Maharshi would say, Maya, or veiling, illusion, is always there, even to the wise. Powerful stories about the sage Vishwamitra. Ask our Vishwamitra sometime about his namesake. And his namesake, the great sage Vishwamitra, the guru of Ram and Lakshman, the brothers and so forth from the Ramayana, and Vashisht. Beautiful story about those two Brahma Rishis. But anyway, it has to do with liberation and the challenge of it. Now, one interesting thing I just want to close with, if we can, is in talking about Babaji and Dharma. His Dharma, we were able to be in it and serve it and experience it in really beautiful, palpable ways for many, many years. Thousands of people, really, both here and in India and Canada and different places. So one day, early part of Mount Madonna Center, it's maybe the second year or so, second or third year, I forget, but it was wintertime. and it was horrendous weather. We were in this real storm cycle, and a lot of rain, torrential rain and so forth, and cold and miserable. And Babaji had been sick for a couple of days, and we knew that, but Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, put that on your calendar and just say never ending. And that was like Babaji. Those are his days. He came here. So we called up Ma Renu on this one day and we said, Ma, it's really terrible storm here and Babaji's sick, so why don't you tell him he should just stay home today? And she kind of chuckled and said, I'll go tell him. And so she comes back and says, he says he's coming. And so we all, wow, that's okay. So he came, and just as he would always do, he came, sat, taught a class. We spent time with him. He was sniffling. His nose was practically swollen from being sick like he was. And anyway, so we finished class, and he ate like he always would do afterward, and we were hanging out with him and thinking, this will be beautiful. We're going to hang out in here. There's a nice fire, stay warm. Can't do anything outside. It's too miserable. And he's sick, so we can't go out there. So he gets up, he goes to the bathroom, comes out after a minute, and he's got his rain boots, his poncho, his work dhoti on. And we look, and he's like, shh, like, what are you clowns doing, And we were ready to sit down and just stay inside with him. And so he wants to go out. So we all go out and went all over the property. And he was just here, there, and everywhere, up the hillside, in through the bushes. And it was hard to know exactly what he was doing until you started to see where he paused. But I remember at one point, we were going up the hillside above the lake. There was not really a lake there at the time, but he was going up the hillside, and his dhoti was dragging behind him, coming off of him in the mud. And I remember gathering up his dhoti and saying, Babaji, your dhoti's coming off here, So he just stops and he ties it on and he keeps on going. And so we did this for a couple of hours. Came back inside. And he was worse, for sure, but he was happy. And we hung out and we just were kind of mystified. And the next time when he came to the land, he was still a little bit sick. And we said, Babaji, why did you go out that day? And it made you sicker. And and he just wrote, it is a ritual. And that was the end of that conversation. Now for me, that was the beginning of this kind of mind-bending reflection on ritual, because I was being trained in these classic forms of ritual from the day one of Mount Madonna Center. I started to get trained by him to do any and all the different kinds of ceremonies. And now my mind is kind of going, it is a ritual. It is what? Wow. And then I realized every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, he came like clockwork. And he came serving his dharma. His dharma was to help us. His dharma was to help any seeker that came his way, and to try to give these teachings that were just like this essence that oozed out of him. It couldn't be stopped. He was a surrendered being. So that ritual went on. And then we witnessed it and participated in it for decades. And all the time I reflect on that so much, that how his whole life was a ritual. His whole life was clearly a yagya. So yagya is a very, very powerful process. Praise God. Praise Guru. Jai Guru Dev. Now, it's 8:35, and we should close up, and because you all have to get to bed and get up early and do the next things. Oh, tomorrow's the yagya. Yeah, we're all going to get up and meet here. So, yeah. Is there anything else we should say?
There was one other question which could relate, fairly related.
There's one other question that...
Okay, well, this was from earlier, and it occurs to me that it could relate to how you described Babaji and the ritual. But the question was, if you could just briefly say a sentence or two about the symbolism of Hanumanji.
Yes. Hanumanji represents, in a cosmic form, the life energy of the whole creation. And in a microcosmic form, the pranic energy that's within us. So if you know the story of the Ramayana, you know that Hanuman was the perfect servant of Ram. So Ram represents higher consciousness, and Ram is the higher consciousness abiding in you. And in a macrocosmic form, it's the consciousness of the whole creation. And that life energy that supports that, that's totally dedicated to serving that only, is that energy of Hanumanji. So in the individual, it's, as I say, that the pranic energy, the life force energy in us, that we work with so vigorously in doing our yoga sadhana and so forth and meditation, so that it can be a purified flow of energy within us, not blocked and causing disturbance or agitation or illness and so forth. So Hanumanji represents all of that. And as also the perfect servant, the dedicated servant. So just not without even a doubt, that's constantly thinking of Ram. And all the stories in the Ramayana that you see that if you open Hanuman's heart, you'll see Ram and Sita there. So that every single cell and of Hanumanji's energy is just about vibrating that energy of service to Ram. So at one level then, it's that if we purify ourselves, our pranic energy in ourselves, we will automatically be dedicating our energy. It will flow toward consciousness, toward higher consciousness, that energy of Ram. So that's and then there's other things, but we'll go into that when you come stand here in front of him, and he'll tell you everything you need to know. Sankat Mochan Hanuman, liberator of all troubles. And we should say good night, and we'll all gather tomorrow here in various forms. So, pranams again. Thank you to all of you, and I hope you have sweet dreams. Jai Shri Ram. Hari Om.